Hello friends, and welcome back to Rachel's Baking Corner. Today, we won't be baking, but we will be making something a little bit savory and different. We'll be doing Italian wedding soup. Yeah, so think warm, chickeny, comforting soup with some delicious vegetables, little pearls of pasta, and meatballs. It's going to be fantastic. I'd never even heard of this until Jenna Marbles, the queen, posted it on her channel years and years ago, and a very near and dear friend of mine eats it almost daily from the Progresso version. And so I was inclined to make it one time, and I did, and let me tell you, it was life-changing. I'm a soup girl. I make soup once, if not twice a week. It's basically my go-to meal. That's a lie. I make it like 3 to 4 times a week, but whatever. Once I made this for the first time, I knew this was going to become a regular staple in my household. And so I wanted to show you this recipe and how I make it because it's fantastic. This is not my recipe. I'll have it linked down below. Of course, when I make it, I kind of measure with my heart, and everyone's will be a little bit different. But without further ado, let's make some soup, shall we? Yeah. We're gonna chat meatballs, then the soup, then we'll chat tools, order of operations, and things like that. Okay. So when it comes to the meat, you need a 1/2 pound of ground beef and a 1/2 pound of ground pork. I don't know if it was my grocery store, but the pork was kind of hard to find, but I found it. Then 2/3 of a cup of plain breadcrumbs, 1 egg beaten, 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. You better believe mine came from a bag. Don't judge me. I don't have time to grade that. And then in here is our herbs. We have, you're supposed to use 1/4 cup of freshly chopped parsley. I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't gonna go buy parsley. I used the dry stuff. That's life. This is like, if you're thinking a Tuesday evening, what you're making for soup, you don't got time to go buy fresh parsley, get the dried stuff. It's fine. It's meatball, okay? And then a tablespoon of oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, and then 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I measured with my heart and I used freshly cracked black pepper, just the grinder. And then a tablespoon of olive oil, which I once again kind of measured with my heart, mixed it all up in here for easy distributing. So that's for the meatballs. You'll want your mixing bowl to mash said meatballs. Then when it comes to the soup, we need 3 stalks of celery, or however much celery you like. My stalks were huge, so it's a lot of celery, but the more veg, the better, in my personal opinion. Then I said 1 carrot stick. I did 2.5. I'm obsessed with carrots, and they weren't as meaty as my celery, so I had to even it out. A whole yellow onion, medium sized, and 3 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. Chop these to your desired eating preference. If you like big rounds of carrots, do it. I did mine in more of quarters because I want every bite to have a little bit of everything. And then you're gonna need a cup of chopped fresh spinach. I just did a rough chop, kind of just estimated a cup. I like a lot of spinach, so it works for me. And then you're going to need 8 cups of chicken broth. I really like this brand. I really like this brand. Kettle and Fire organic, no preservatives, chicken broth. I got 1 regular and 1 low sodium, just so I can control my sodium level a little bit more. I've used this chicken broth the 2 or 3 times that I've made this soup, and it just really makes for good flavor, and I just really like it. But of course, use any chicken broth you like, bouillon powder, or your own chicken broth if you feel so inclined. Go you. And then the star of the show. Little pasta balls. Now, the last time I made this, they didn't have that pasta, so I got the teeny little short tubes that look like macaroni noodles were cut in half, and that was actually fantastic. So if you can't find Acini Pasta, orzo, any type of small pasta works fine. If you're not really a small pasta kind of person, throw a macaroni noodle in there. I'm not gonna judge you. And that's gonna be 1 cup. That's gonna be 1 cup of pasta. So we're gonna make our meatballs. We're gonna grill them up on the stove top just to give them a good caramelization on the outside. Then we're gonna set them aside while we build the base of our soup. Once we build the base of our soup and add our broth, we can add in our meatballs. Everything's gonna cook together with our pasta and just really form this delicious flavor. Throw in the spinach at the end and you're done. It's a little bit of a labor of love with the meatballs, but it's not terrible. It's just like if you were cooking a chicken and cooking chicken of some kind and making a side dish. It's about that much work. Soup is kind of convenient to me because you can kind of throw it all in one pot, simmer it away, and you're good. This is a little bit more love, but it's totally, totally worth it. So worth it. So without further ado, let's get going, okay? I want to eat some soup. It's Sunday. Soup Sunday, my friends. It's Saturday for you, but it's Sunday for me. Let's make some meatballs. So I'm gonna sound stupid, but I am regretting my nail choice right now. I have some really long coffin nails on at the moment, and that doesn't make for easy meatball making because meat is gonna get all up under these nails and it's gonna be difficult to wash out. So I'm gonna try to makeshift something to where I don't have to mess up my nails too bad. Come for me, I don't care. Think of the average daily person. We got problems. And some people don't want to manhandle meat, so yeah, okay. Real quick tip. Still a little wet. A small tablespoon spring-loaded scoop. This is going to make making your meatballs really easy versus spooning them out, rolling them, which, you know, no shame in that. You can totally do that. I'm just really lazy, and making meatballs from scratch is already kind of an extra step you're doing, which is a great thing to do, but it's just a lot of work. So I scoop these out, and then when my soup is done cooking, including the meatballs and everything like that, I get some kitchen shears and I'll scoop up the meatballs and just cut them in half with my kitchen shears, or in quarters, whatever you like, just to make them a little bit smaller. Traditionally with like an Italian wedding soup, it would be like teeny tiny little meatballs. That is too much, too much work for me, so we're not doing that. So this is my little hack for you. Do whatever your heart desires. I have a small bench scraper, bowl scraper situation to hopefully make smashing and mixing my meat a little bit easier. I'm gonna be messy, I already know it, but that might help. Let's just see. So half a pound of ground pork and half a pound of hamburger or beef. Parmesan. Bread crumbs, our herbs and spices, and then our egg. Now my herbs did kind of soak up that olive oil, so I may very well add a little bit more olive oil just to moisten everything up, but I'm going to mix everything first to kind of see where I'm at before I make that decision, you know, because you don't want it to be too wet because then they won't hold together and it's a big pain. All right, so I'm just gonna mash away here. Yeah, this is already a little bit dry. My meat isn't really mixing in that well just yet, so we may add some more oil. I think when in doubt, you could add another egg too. I don't think there would be a problem there, but it's not in the recipe, so. I am not a fluent meatball maker. I have made meatballs a handful of times, but not enough to know what I'm talking about. Smells so good. It's probably better if your Parmesan cheese is ground up a little finer than mine was. Mine was shredded. But it's gonna make for a really cheesy meatball, so I'm not mad at that. So now I have my plate and my scoop. I'm gonna try to compress as well as I can into this scoop so we have a nice smushed meatball. And plop. Okay, so I'm just gonna be sitting here scooping and rolling meatballs for forever. So let's fast forward to when we're done, yeah? Okay, so I have a big plate of balls, meatballs. How many did we make? Let's see. 27 meatballs. So now we're going to pan fry these and then set them aside, and then we will start on the soup base. A lot of this is going to be handheld because I need a big soup pot for this and I don't have one of those for my induction stovetop, so bear with me. Okay, so we are going to take our meatballs onto a medium hot pan, cast iron or regular, whatever you like. We're going to line them all up, cook them for about 3 minutes on each side until they're golden brown. They don't need to cook all the way through because they are going to continue to cook in the soup. They have a tendency to stick a little bit because the cheese, but don't you worry. They're going to get cut up into pieces later anyway. So we're going to just saute these for 3 minutes on each side, set them back on the plate, and then we will begin our soup base. Yeah! All right, so we have our stew pot heating with a heaping tablespoon of oil. We are going to add our carrot, our celery, and our onion. You're technically supposed to add the garlic at the end, but oh well. And then we're going to saute this until nice and sweat out. You know, kind of translucent, not super caramelized. I went ahead and added some salt and pepper just to help it sweat. So yeah, that's what we're working with right now. The rest of this recipe is very traditional to any soup. Sweat your veggies, add your broth, bring it to a boil, add your pasta and meatballs, and then let it cook. So this has been sweating for about 4 minutes. When I say sweat, I mean you can see some water at the bottom of the pan that's being released from the veggies. They're starting to look a bit translucent and transparent. You can kind of hear it bubbling a bit. We're starting to see a little bit of color. So we're going to call that good. We don't want to overcook these vegetables. So let's add our broth and get her boiling. So here we are, 8 cups of chicken broth. We're gonna wait for this to come to a boil. Then we will add our pasta and our meatballs, cook it for the recommended time, and then we'll have soup. The recommended time is 9 minutes for that pasta. So we might put the meatballs in a couple minutes before that, but I can't imagine the meatballs would take more than 9 minutes to cook. All right, we are boiling. I added the meatballs in about 2 minutes ago so that they could get kind of a head start. Now we are going to add our 1 cup of pasta. We will give that a stir and start the timer for 9 minutes. Okay, our timer just went off. While the timer was going towards the end, I went ahead and snipped up my meatballs. So now you can kind of see it's not like, oh, I missed one. There's a whole meatball right there. I'll get it in a second. Oh, we're getting foggy. Okay, so you can see though, we've got little balls of pasta. We got chunks of meatball. We have veg. We have broth. It is time to serve up a bowl and try it. Oh no, it's not. It's time for spinach. Hold please. Totally forgot. Spinach at the very end, because it wilts pretty quickly and you don't want it to just totally mush and dissolve into the soup. All right, I had already turned my heat off because the residual heat will do just fine. Oh, look at that. Now it just looks absolutely perfect. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to eat this. Ugh, come on, come on. Here we are with the cutest little bowl of soup. It smells So good. I literally just scooped this off the stove. It was boiling 4 seconds ago, so this is gonna be piping hot, but I'm just so excited to taste it. As you could probably imagine, this is my dinner tonight, so I'm just gonna taste a little bit for right now. I already know it's gonna be amazing, but you know, it's part of the game here. And then I'll have my serving later for dinner. So let me get close and we'll try it. Yeah. Excuse me. Hello. Hi. You can't really see it that well. Can you see the steam? Probably not. Okay. It's hot. My hand is burning. Okay. So we've got some really good pasta to veggie. Come on, there we go. So we got some really good pasta, veggie, spinach, meatball ratio. So let's give it a try. It's funny because I was like wishing it was like 60 degrees outside and stormy. It is a little stormy, but it's definitely like 98 degrees outside right now. I'm gonna burn my mouth off. It's so comforting. It's nice and fatty from the meatballs because that pork fat renders into the stew or into the broth while it's stewing. And it really just adds some great flavor and fatty, oily goodness. Give this to anyone who's depressed or sick or just needing a little extra TLC. You will become their favorite person. The meatballs are so tender. And cheesy. Ugh. You need to make the soup. You need to make the soup. I should have listened to Jenna years ago. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this little soup excursion today. I know there was no baking, but this is one of my favorite recipes that I really wanted to share with you. Sorry that 50% of it was handheld, but you see, it makes a big soup, so you gotta have a stock pot, you know? But I hope you liked this video. Please leave a like, comment down below recipes you'd like me to try, subscribe, and I will see you next week with a new video. I love you, thank you, goodbye.